Hello everyone, I'll go through rounds 6 and 7 of the Zadar Open. If you've seen the previous video, in the first round I won against a lower rated opponent. The second round I lost in zeitnot. The third round, which was the first game covered in the last video, I made a horrible blunder against a much lower rated opponent and lost a lot of rating points, and then I won rounds 4 and 5, getting a bit of the points back, but having a bad tournament so far. And so I had 3 out of 5, and in round 6 I was to face a higher rated opponent, Bubicic Josip, who is 2027. And if I won that game, if I won round 6, I would be at 4 out of 6, so at +2, and I would be in plus with the rating, so that would have been great. So I prepared for about 15 hours. I spent all of my time preparing. I almost didn't sleep at all, and I played the Caro Kann. I tried to find some games where he plays the Caro Kann, and I found the mistake he plays against the Karpov Caro Kann, which I thought we might enter. There was a chance that we would play the Panov, the main line, and the Karpov. He also played the 2 knights variation once, but a very strange variation, which I think I could have won against, or, well, gotten a better position. So anyway, I found the mistake he plays against the Karpov Caro Kann, and it's a fairly serious mistake, so I prepared as much as I could against that. I found the line which I wanted to play. And yeah, I prepared well. So he opened with... He opened with pawn to e4, c6, d4, d5, knight c3, d4, knight e4, knight to d7. I was very happy that we have entered the Karpov variation, and now I was hoping that he would play the same thing he did in the game 2 years ago. So he did bishop to c4, knight g to f6, knight to g5 and e6. Now I have to do this, of course. I have to protect. Now there's a line with queen to e2, and I have to play knight to b6, otherwise he can sacrifice everything, so I have to open up my bishop. But in this position after e6, in the last game he played against this 2 years ago, he played knight 1 to f3, which is a serious mistake, and now black is well, basically winning. Black has more than -1 advantage, and if an engine was playing this, or a strong grandmaster, then the game is already over. So this is the position I prepared for. I was hoping that he would make the same mistake again, and he did. So the way to punish this is h6. He has to go back to h3, and now I play g5, threatening both the knights. Now he can play either knight to g1. He can also play knight to d2. He played knight f to g1, which is one of the worst moves. And now I get to develop with tempo, and my position is... I'm actually going to turn on the engine for this one so that you can see. So this is -2.5, and I play b5, bishop to b3, c5. He took d takes c5, and now bishop to b7, threatening to take on g2. Now he played c6, bishop takes c6, and f3. And this position is, of course, just winning for black. All of his pieces are undeveloped, and I get to choose how to play the game. I actually haven't run the engine analysis on this, so now you are going to... Well, I'm going to see where I went wrong with you guys. I only analyzed the game myself. So bishop to c5, I played queen to e2, and now I wanted to play queen to e7 to stop any sacrifices on e6, even though, well, I played queen to e7 in the end, but I'm not sure it was necessary. Now the engine confirms that. Let's say I play a5. Yeah, the thing is that after takes, queen takes, check, he can never take my bishop because his queen is pinned to the king, so I actually don't have to cover with the queen, but I figured I would develop my queen anyway, get my position safe, and what could be wrong with the queen to e2, to e7. Here he played knight to f2, I played rook to d8, which, well, the engine doesn't like. The engine would like me to castle, but I thought I shouldn't castle, I should just keep the option of castling and develop as many pieces as possible. So rook d8, bishop to d2, bishop to b6, because I don't want him to get in bishop to a5 to disrupt my development. So bishop to b6, knight to d3, and here I played a5, he played a4, and this was my longest thing of the opening. I still have a huge advantage, and now I was considering b4. I was considering b takes a4. I wasn't considering castling, which the engine recommends. So yeah, I ended up playing b takes a4. Still -1.5, so bishop takes a4, and here I took with the bishop, and after he took with the rook, I played knight to c5, which is apparently completely equal. No, okay, black is -1.4, so the engine sees what I saw. So after he took, I took with the queen, and I was calculating this move now, bishop to c3 and king to e7, defending my knight, because of course the bishop was threatening to take everything. And here I was actually calculating what he played, rook to c4, and I was going to play queen to d5. And this is the position in which I wasn't certain I was going to win, but I figured I have to be just a lot better. Okay, my bishop is more active than his, and you could argue that it's better because his bishop isn't really threatening anything. There's no way to put further pressure on the knight on f6. His rook on c4 is weird, and it could be attacked easily. It could be a tactical target. I won't even mention his knight and his rook in the corner. My queen is also better than his, and my king is safer, even though it might look strange on e7, but there's actually no way for him to attack my king. And for some reason I failed to convert this game. Now, if you saw the last two videos, I went to Zadar to get 25 rating points, and my goal was to reach 1900, and I blundered in game 3, lost a lot of rating points. Then I won rounds 4 and 5, and this game was a chance to get in the plus with rating, so I was fairly happy. And I didn't use that much of my time up to this point, and here I started thinking a long time. Here he played knight to h3, and I thought for a very long time in this position, and I started to get equal with him on time, and before that I was about half an hour ahead. And I was actually considering this move, rook d to c8, just trying to exchange a pair of rooks, but I couldn't see why I would like to exchange my rook for his misplaced rook. And on the other hand, I figured that if I exchange my rook for his rook, his other rook is not in the game, so I would be playing a rook up. So yeah, that was a good plan. Instead of that, I went rook h to g8. I wanted to push through with g4, but I couldn't make it work with the rook still on h8. The engine disagrees with me, you can see that, but still, I think it's not such a bad move. So knight to f2, and here I think I did go wrong. Now, in this position, playing rook d to c8 didn't even cross my mind, because I just wasted the tempo on rook to g8. So yeah, that wasn't an option. Let me see what I was calculating. I was calculating g4, but I don't think it works here. Yeah, because he can take here. Yeah, that doesn't work now. But the problem is that my knight on f6 is always he can always take it with tempo. So yeah, I actually didn't analyze that too much. So I only found one attacking plan in this position, and I played that. I played knight to h5, and apparently I only have a minute edge now. It's nothing major anymore. I used to be much better. This is now minus 0.5. So, but I figured that if I get my knight to f4, I have to be better. I still have to be better. I can force him to sack the exchange or something. The problem is that after a knight to h5, he played knight to g4, and now he's threatening to take the exchange if I'm not careful. So I figured that we would exchange some pieces and I would be better because he's still playing a rook down. So I went for that knight to f4, and now I think he has to take. I don't think he has any other options. He has to trade the pieces. So rook takes f4, g takes f4, bishop f6, king to f8, bishop d8, queen to d8. Now he can never take here because I have a check and I win the exchange. Win the knight, I'm sorry. So he can't take the h6 pawn. He did play queen to e5, and now you can see that my idea was correct. I was much better here, but yeah, now I was getting into time trouble. Unfortunately, both me and him were low on time. I think I had about 9 minutes here, and in my mind, this was the critical position in the game. This was the most critical position, and you can see that I'm much better according to the engine, but what do you play here? Two of my pawns are hanging, f4 is hanging, h6 is hanging. I don't really have an attack anymore. I just have a better position. Yeah. What did I want to play? I played a very aggressive move, which ended up well, badly for me. It's not a bad move. I think I'm going to see with an engine. Bishop to c2 to c7, which the engine is recommending, never crossed my mind. I never wanted to play that. I was considering queen check, but after that I'm not sure that I have anything. The engine wants me to sack the exchange and be equal, but is there nothing better here? What? Yeah, no human could play this. Why would? Yeah, so apparently this is just a draw, but I would never play this. So after queen to e5, I played f5, and well, he can't really take on h6. I think this just doesn't work because I'm threatening everything. Apparently I can even win this way with bishop to f2 check. So that sorry for this. So f5, so he can never take here. If he took here, I can't remember what I wanted to play. I think yeah, so of course the pawn is pinned, so I can't take the knight. I wouldn't play rook to g7. That just seems strange. Yeah, I'm not sure what I would have played here actually. After queen takes f4, perhaps here. Oh yeah, that doesn't work. So why would I? Can't he take here anyway? Yeah, now can he take with the knight? Yeah, so I can't allow queen to h6 check. He can't move the queen. So rook to g7 is actually a good move. But at this point I had, I'm not sure, about 3 minutes. So after f5 I hoped he would take the pawn or play something else. He actually played another move. He played queen to f6, forcing an exchange of queens. So queen takes f6, knight takes f6, and now it's still 8 moves to move 40. So at move 40 you get additional 30 minutes. It's game in 90 plus 30 seconds per move, and then you get 30 minutes after move 40. So I still have to play 8 moves. And I had a few minutes on the clock, and of course if I move the rook somewhere where it's not on g7, then I lose a piece. The knight forks the king and bishop, but I actually wanted to do that, and I was looking at this. Here, yeah. Here rook takes c2. Now of course he has to do something not to lose the rook. So let's say he does castle, and I was going to take here, and I thought I was better here. Yeah, not here but here. Yeah, but apparently it's just a draw. I think white can't win this position because he has 2 pawns which I'm going to exchange, and if it's rook and knight versus rook, that's a draw. But anyway, I didn't go for that because I started getting scared that I might lose, so I played here. And here he played g4, and you can see that I'm much better. I knew I was much better. So at this point I was happy because the position was simple to play, and I was winning. I'm not going to take en passant, of course. I'm not sure that was a good move. This was a good move which I didn't play. Why didn't I play this move? I could have won easily here. This takes, and yeah, I could have played this, but I didn't. I was in time trouble. So after g4 I took here. He took with the knight. I played h5, knight e5. Here I played bishop here, here, and yeah. Now this was a mistake, but I had about 30 seconds. Every move I would just wait until the last 10 seconds, then I would play, and I would get the additional 30 seconds which you get per move. So I blundered a lot here, and here I played bishop to e3, which I don't think is that good. He played king to f1, and now with the seconds on the clock, 3 moves until the time control, I made my position equal at best, and I was winning. You can see that it's minus 0.6. So rook c7, c3, rook to d7, horrible. King to e2, just bringing his king to the center, and rook to g7. he played knight to e1, and once again better, and this was move 40, so this was the last move I had to rush, and I play king to e7, which is the losing move, or the drawing move. Yeah, and this was move 40. After this I got up from the board and tried to relax and realized what I had done. And just, I hate zeitnot, and if this was move 40, if the last move was move 40, then I wouldn't have played king to e7, which is a horrible move, but in time trouble you make stupid moves. a4 is obviously a good move. It didn't occur to me later because I was frustrated because of king to e7, but blah. So anyway, king to e7, and this is move 40. Now we both get additional 30 minutes. King d3, king f6, king e4, and h4. You can see that this is all zeros, but the best thing is that I managed to lose. Now we're going to see how. So h3, rook b7, a bad move. Knight d3, e5, and this was just a complete blackout in this position. After knight to e1, knight to e1 is king to e7, king to d3. I spent a lot of time I had the 30 minutes left, but I spent about 20 here just to see whether I could win, and I thought I couldn't win, so I wanted to bring my king to the center. King for h4, h3, rook to b7, knight to d3, and now e5 is already in time trouble once again. Only four moves before the last time I was in time trouble, and it was just a stupid trick. So the problem is that I can lose both pawns. Okay, so I'm losing f4. So a move such as rook here didn't occur to me, because now if he takes, then I can't even take on b2, so I didn't want to play that. So I didn't actually know what to do. I just had no moves. If I push my pawn to a4 now, then I just lose it. So I play d5, which is a trick. Now, of course, if he takes, then I'm winning here, because he loses the knight. The king can't go to d5. But that was just a cheap trick, and he would never take e5. He just played rook to a1, and I was lost. I wanted to resign immediately, but I played on for a few more moves, and this is just lost now. He's winning everything I have, and here I gave up. Or a few moves later, but I don't even remember. It was just a bad finish to a very good game. So this is now +6 for white, and at move 10 I had +2, -2 or -3 for black. Yeah, so the game finished. I was crushed once again. I had a chance to get back into the tournament to win all my rating points, and I got a winning position. I prepared well. I got exactly what I wanted. We played exactly what I had prepared for. I got a winning position, and I just couldn't convert. And after this game, I spent about 2 or 3 hours walking through Zadar and thinking about what went wrong. Firstly, it was zeitnot, so I blundered in zeitnot, and not blundered, but just allowed myself to get into time trouble. So that was the one thing to correct. And if you haven't seen the one video before last where I covered rounds 1 and 2, in round 2 I also played the Caro Kann against a high-rated opponent. I also got a better, almost winning position. This was more winning than that game, but still. And I failed to convert. And once again, we had a completely drawn position as in this one, and I managed to lose. So the same thing happened to me with the black pieces in the Caro Kann against 2 high-rated opponents. I got a better position out of the opening. I played the middle game well, and then when it was time to convert and just win the position, I got in time trouble and lost. So I spent a lot of time contemplating what to do and how to improve that, and I did improve it, at least psychologically. I just, after round 3, after round 6, I was devastated, so I set myself down, thought about it, and tried to strengthen my mind, and didn't let the loss influence me too much. I still had 3 rounds to play. So in round 7, I faced a lower-rated opponent once again. Once you lose, you play lower-rated opponents. Mileusnic Slobodan, 1750 something, 57. And he usually plays the elephant gambit, so I was happy to prepare for that. So he usually plays e4, e5, knight f3, d5, which is a fun opening to play of course. And well, it's fun to play, and I actually prepared for that for several hours because I didn't want to be caught off guard. He played that twice in the tournament already in the first 6 rounds, so I was expecting him to play that again. However, after knight to f3, he started shaking his head and going like this. And I figured he knows that the opening is rubbish. Once black plays d5 here, he's basically lost, if you know what you're doing. So he started shaking his head like this, and he played d6 after about 5 minutes. And I was like, why do we have to play the Philidor? He goes from the elephant gambit to Philidor, which is like playing Sicilian accelerated dragon and then going for an exchange French. Just doesn't make sense. But I was happy to see the Philidor because I was fairly well prepared already and I know how to play against the opening. So d4, e4, knight d4, knight f6, knight c3, c6. C6 is a strange move. It's been played, but I think it's a waste of time. So I decided to waste a bit of time myself because I thought his main plan was b5, so a4. He played a5, which I don't think makes sense. Okay, you can play knight to a6, but white is supposed to be much better here already. I didn't analyze the game with the engine. I'm going to do that in the end, but I think white is better. Here I played bishop to e2, and I couldn't decide whether I should play bishop c4 or bishop e2. I wanted to play bishop to e2 just to make sure he doesn't have any bishop g4 ideas or knight to g4. Bishop e7, castles, castles, bishop e3, d5. I think d5 is a mistake because he's breaking through in the center, but to my advantage he actually gives me a free tempo for the bishop or isolates his pawn. So he went for the bishop tempo, e d5, knight d5, knight d5, queen d5, bishop to f3. Again a tempo on the queen and he has to go back. Queen to d8. And now this was my first think of the game. I knew I was better, I had more active bishops, my pieces were developed. So I played c3. I'm not sure whether it's a good move, but I can play queen to c2 and queen to b3, putting pressure on b7 and on f7. And in conjunction with the bishop on f3, I thought queen to b3 would be a fairly strong move. Bishop g5, which I didn't like this move. Perhaps the engine will think it's okay, but why would you develop my pieces and lose tempi like that? So I played rook to e1, and I thought if he takes, which he did, bishop e3, rook e3, he just played bishop e7, bishop to g5, bishop takes c3, and by the time he did that, I managed to develop my rook. So his bishop was on e7, my bishop was on e3. Now we don't have the bishops, but my rook isn't on f1, it's on e3. How does that make sense? So he actually developed my rook from f1 to e3, and I said, okay, thank you. Knight a6, queen to c2, wanting to play either rook to d1 or rook to e1, queen f6, rook a to e1, and now, well, it's not a winning position, it's just much better for white. All of my pieces are better than all of his pieces. Perhaps the queens are equal, but compare the knights, compare the bishops, and compare the rooks, not to mention the rooks. King safety is the same, but I have 4 pieces which are better than his 4 pieces, so I have to be better. You don't need an engine to see that. Knight c5, and here I played a move which might seem strange, but it actually makes a lot of sense. I played rook to e5. Now his only move is knight to e6. He can't really go back. So knight to e6, and now the problem with, okay, I can't play rook to f5. That doesn't work because he would just take here, and I would have an isolated pawn or lose a pawn. So I can't do that. I can take the knight, but that doesn't make sense because then our development is equal and our piece activity is almost equal. But before playing rook to e5, I actually saw all this. I was thinking about knight to f5, and now this position was fairly complicated, but I figured that after knight to g5 I have this check, and I can then move my bishop and remaneuver and stuff like that. But I actually saw a much better idea here after knight to e6, and I played queen to d2. And now with queen to d2, we are exchanging the pieces to my advantage, and now knight to f5 is stronger and rook to f5 is stronger, and even knight takes knight is stronger, and I can even sacrifice on c6 in some positions. I spent a lot of time here before rook to e5 and queen to d2. This was my biggest thing of the game, and he took, as I thought he would, and queen takes d4, and now bishop to e6. And after queen takes d4, once again all of my pieces are better than all of his pieces. I'm threatening a lot of stuff. His back rank is weak, so I'm threatening a lot of checkmates. He doesn't have time to develop the rook. And if he plays bishop to e6, which he has to do, he's blundering a pawn, and he has to do that. He has to give up a pawn to bring his pieces out. So queen to b6, and now he's either losing b7 or b7 and c6 for b2 or a5. He played rook a to b8, which I thought was just too passive. So queen takes a5, queen to d8. I'm not going to exchange the queens, of course. Why would I? I'm attacking, I'm material up. So queen to b4. He played queen to d7. And now I played h3. I think this was the best move, because my back rank is also weak, and there are some positions in which I could lose because of a back rank problem. So I just played h3, and now this is just a winning position. I just have to convert this. I'm a pawn up on the queen side. My rooks are better. My bishop is better. It's just have to be patient and win the position. So he played b6. I played rook to d1, gaining a tempo on the queen. Queen to c7, and now I did want to exchange the queens because I saw the plan of playing bishop to d5. And if I manage to exchange the bishops, this is actually a fairly easily winning rook endgame, especially with a pair of rooks. So I played queen to d6. He didn't take, of course, because that would be better for me. Rook f to c8, queen takes rook to d6, and now if he doesn't want to lose his pawn, he either has to play rook b to c8, which is passive, or he has to play c5. And since he isn't that high rated, I figured he would play c5, which is a much weaker move, allowing bishop to d5, and that's what happened. So c5, bishop to d5. And now I expected him to take, and after bishop takes, rook takes, threatening checkmate, he can play, I don't know, probably f6. And I slowly increase my advantage and convert a pawn up, hopefully. But after bishop to d5, he just blundered. He played rook to e7. So after rook to e7, I just win a pawn. There's not much to it. So f takes, bishop takes, f takes, rook takes, forcing an exchange of rooks. If I had taken with the other rook, he can move his rook. Takes. Here I can play rook to c6, but I didn't like the positions in which my rook can get trapped after king e7, king d7, so I played rook to e2, knowing that he would play rook to a8, and I have b3, c4. I don't want to play b takes c4, that would then be a draw, probably. Rook b2, cb3, rook b3, rook a4, rook b6, rook c4, rook b3. This is winning position. I'm going to show you how I converted. If it was me who was playing black here, I would have resigned already, but he wanted to play on. I think my technique was fairly good. I actually want to turn the engine on for this. Okay. So here I played king to e2, h5, king to d3. Okay. Rook d7 check. I played king to c2, which is okay. g5. I didn't play check. I played rook to b5, and he should have played. He should have exchanged some pawns off with g4 here, but he didn't. He played rook to f7, which I had actually hoped for, trying to exchange the rooks, the pawns on f2 and on g5. So rook takes g5, rook f2, king to d3, h4. And now I just wanted to get my king up the board and win the position. So king d4, rook d2 check, actually helping me. King to c5, rook d8. And now I wanted to play rook to g4, c4, get my king back and around. So I did that, rook to g4, rook c8 check, king to d4, rook to d8 check, king to e3. And now after rook to h8, he has to try to defend h4 all the time. Now after I play c4, my rook is defending the c4 pawn. So after rook h5, king d4, rook h8, king c5. Now when he checks me, I can go up. I don't have to defend my pawn anymore. Of course, the best move for him was king to d7 here, but he played rook c8 check and king b6. King d6, c5. He can't take my pawn. If he takes the pawn, then I just check him away and I win the rook. So yeah, this he can't do that. So after c5 check, he played king d5. Now we check him away. Whichever way he goes, it's losing. King e4, c6, rook b8 check, king to a6. I don't want to play king to a7 because I want to keep my king on the 6th rank so that I can play rook to c5. When his rook gets behind, I can play rook to c5 and stop any of that. That's exactly what happens. Rook b2. And in this position I can play rook to c5. If my king was somewhere here, then I couldn't play that. Here he resigned. I think this was a good game, and got my spirits up once again. So I was at 4 out of 7, still losing some rating points. I was 8 points down with 2 rounds to go, but I played a good game, and I wasn't devastated anymore after losing in round 6. So from this point on, in rounds 8 and 9, I played good games, 2 good games, and things went up from here. So yeah, let me know what you think about the games, especially the first one in the Caro Kann. What would you do in this position? Wait, let's get to the... Okay, here. So yeah, let's say in this position. Here, after knight to h3. I think this is the critical position in which black has to find a plan. I went for rook to g8, which of course the engine doesn't like. It's not a bad move, it's just not the best move. Let me know if you can find any ideas in this position. Let me know what you would do. And I had a lot of time here. I had an hour left or something, so I had time to think. So okay, thanks very much for watching. Once again, let me know what you think about the games, and stay tuned for more chess. Rounds 8 and 9 from the Zadar Open coming up tomorrow, I guess. And see you later. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.